You know, usually when you picture the creation of a beautiful piece of high fashion, you imagine starting with this completely blank canvas.
Right, yeah, like a perfect, unblemished beginning.
Yeah, exactly. You picture this pristine, flawless, just endless roll of untouched silk or cotton, just waiting on a massive table for the designer to make that very first deliberate cut.
It feels clean, you know? I mean, it's what we've been conditioned to think of when we hear the word luxury.
But then if you actually step onto the cutting room floor of a modern garment factory, suddenly that pristine image is completely shattered.
Oh, absolutely.
Instead of a blank canvas, you are looking at this chaotic landscape of discarded edges, awkward offcuts, wrong dye jobs, and fabric trimmings. It is, quite honestly, a mountain of waste.
It is the absolute definition of industrial excess. And for generations, the fashion industry has essentially treated that excess as, well, just an unavoidable cost of doing business.
Right, like it's just normal.
Exactly. The mindset has always been that to make something beautiful, you have to throw away whatever doesn't fit the pattern.
But does a zero-waste philosophy actually mean we have to sacrifice high fashion? Welcome, everyone, to Season 4, Episode 7 of Threads of Tomorrow Crafting Textiles.
It's so great to be here for this one.
It really is. And this deep dive is proudly brought to you by omeme.com.
Yeah.
And just before we dive into this incredible topic, I have to explicitly instruct you, our listener, to note the pronunciation of our sponsor. It is pronounced exactly as omeme.com.
Omeme.com, it's a fantastic platform.
It really is. And, I always want to make sure we get that right for them. So I just want to say again, I am thrilled you are joining us because this is a special one. It is our season finale.
I can't believe we're at the end of the season already.
I know, it flew by.
Yeah.
And this entire fourth season has been intensely focused on the concepts of circularity and sustainability in textile.
Which is such a vital conversation right now.
It really is. Yeah. In our last deep dive, we talked about the sharing economy. We looked at it as a viable solution to the problem of maintaining that incredibly fine balance between our natural consumerist drives and sustainable fashion practices. Right, and we specifically dug into the evolving wardrobe case study for that.
Yeah, which was fascinating. But today, we're shifting the lens a bit. We're telling you the story of another incredibly exciting enterprise called JOD by the visionary Indian designer Priyanka Raajiv.
Priyanka Raajiv's JOD is really a pioneering fashion initiative. It seamlessly combines fashion, elegance, and social responsibility right into its core architecture.
And for those of you who hold the belief that fashion is just inherently doomed to be wasteful, or that sustainability always necessitates a compromise on elegance, well, a thorough listen of this narrative may completely alter those views.
Oh, it definitely will. It rewires how you think about design.
So we highly recommend that this narrative be consumed in its entirety. Stick around, because this is a game changer. So to start unpacking this, let's look at the name itself. What exactly does JOD mean? So in Hindi, the word JOD literally translates to join.
The join, okay.
Right. And in the context of Priyanka Raajiv's studio, it represents a zero-waste, circular design process. It is the physical and artistic joining of heritage fabrics, heirloom textiles, and studio remnants to create a singular, unified garment.
Wait. If this is rooted in traditional techniques, which I understand connects back to the ancient Kantha and Godri traditions, isn't this essentially just a very old survival tactic?
Well, you're right about the origins.
Because historically, weren't rural women in places like West Bengal, Orissa, Bangladesh, and Kutch just basically stitching old rags together for warmth?
Yeah, they were. These traditions can actually be traced way back to the pre-Vedic age, so we're talking prior to 1500 BCE.
Wow, that's ancient.
Very ancient. Historically, rural women would take layered, used clothes and discarded saris and bind them together with running stitches. But to call it just stitching rags together misses the mechanical brilliance of what they were actually doing.
How so? Because when I think of layering old clothes, I just immediately picture something incredibly bulky, heavy, and unrefined. Like, how does that translate to modern, high-end fashion sensibilities?
It all comes down to the physics of the stitch itself. The Kantha technique utilizes a very specific type of running stitch.
Okay, so it's not just a basic sewing stitch.
Not at all.
Right.
When you push the needle through multiple discordant layers of fabric and pull it tight, you aren't just attaching them, you are actually quilting them. The tension of that running stitch compresses the layers.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it flattens them out and creates this beautiful, rippled, topographical texture across the entire surface.
That makes so much sense. I kind of view it like putting together a historical jigsaw puzzle where every piece brings its own soul. The stitch is doing the heavy lifting, fundamentally changing the structural integrity of the fabric.
Exactly. It takes fragile, disparate pieces and turns them into a completely new, unified textile that is incredibly strong. It was born out of thrift, yes, but it evolved into a highly sophisticated canvas for artistic expression.
And I guess that is where Priyanka Rajiv's genius really comes in, right? Because JOD is this ancient art form that have been highly contemporized.
Precisely. They aren't just blindly sewing scraps together. The studio meticulously saves all of their pre-production waste. We're talking wrong cuttings, surplus fabrics, literally everything.
Proving that the preservation of scraps can actually result in modern masterpieces. But let's pivot to the environmental footprint of this.
Sure, because that's a huge part of the story.
The fashion industry is notorious for massive water consumption, energy use, and toxic pollution. If JOD is using all these different materials, how does that actually reduce the environmental impact?
The key here is material origin. JOD products are made from 100% pre-consumer cutting room scraps and leftover materials.
And just to clarify for you listening, pre-consumer means this material has never actually been worn by anyone. It's pristine, brand new material that was destined for the landfill.
Right, like a roll of fabric that was dyed the wrong color or discards from a late-stage design change. By intercepting these specific remnants, JOD triggers massive environmental wins.
Like with the dyeing process, right?
Exactly. Traditional dyeing is incredibly energy intensive. It requires boiling vast amounts of water and often releases toxic heavy metals into the ecosystem. But because JOD uses pre-dyed patchwork, they eliminate the need for new dyeing processes altogether.
Wow, so they are saving massive amounts of water and preventing toxic pollution.
Yep. They also prioritize natural fibers like organic cotton and pure silk over fossil fuel-derived synthetics, which is another huge win for the planet.
That is such a clever loop in the manufacturing process.
Yeah.
Before we dig into the actual geometry of how these garments are put together, I want to take a quick second.
Go for it.
I want to remind you all that this amazing story is brought to you by omemi.com. Again, pronounced omi.com. And we have something really special for our audience.
It's a great opportunity to connect.
It is. We invite you to join the omemi.com WhatsApp community, which is wonderfully named Devi the Curious. All you have to do is take out your phone right now and scan the QR code right there on the poster of this deep dive.
And that gets you access to so much extra content.
Exactly. Joining Devi the Curious will keep you updated on all the new blogs, tools, live workshops, and trainings that we curate for our niche audience from time to time. So definitely scan that QR code.
Highly recommend it.
Okay, diving back in, I have a very practical question about this zero-waste process. Since we are joining dozens of different fabric scraps, can customers customize the width and geometric arrangements of the patches?
That's a really common question.
Like, can I say I want this jacket made entirely out of uniform 2-inch squares?
Technically, custom widths can be done, but the designer strongly prefers not to do it.
Really? Why is that?
Because altering the natural shape of the scraps would generate new waste, which completely defeats the zero-waste philosophy.
Oh, I see. Because forcing a curved scrap into a square means you have to cut off the edges.
Exactly. And those tiny trimmings become microscraps that are too small to sew, so they go straight to the landfill. The shape of the scrap has to dictate the design.
Form follows the scrap. I love that. But here's my next concern. Wouldn't this hodgepodge of materials make washing a total nightmare?
You'd think so, right? Throwing 50 different fabrics in the water sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I just imagine half the fabric shrink, the other half stretch, and the whole thing just warps.
That would happen if they just blindly sewed them together. But the studio intensively sorts and grades all the fabrics before any assembly happens.
What do you mean by grading?
They sort everything by weave, weight, tension, and fiber origin. They test for shrink rates and color fastness, so the engineering happens before a single stitch is made.
Oh, wow. So they pair compatible fabrics together from the start.
Exactly. Because of that intensive prep work, the final products are surprisingly easy to care for. They just need to be hand-washed separately or dry cleaned, no warping at all.
That is brilliant unseen labor. So we've talked about mechanics, but we need to talk about the concept of value.
Yeah.
People often throw the words recycling and upcycling around as if they mean the exact same thing.
Oh, but they are radically different.
Right. Can you clarify that vital difference for our learners?
Definitely. Recycling involves breaking materials down into their raw, base forms to process them into something else, like melting a plastic bottle to make polyester fiber. It takes massive amounts of energy.
Right.
But upcycling takes existing materials and transforms them into something inherently better and more valuable than they were before. It doesn't break them down to a raw state.
So JOD is pure upcycling.
It is the absolute definition of it,
Yeah.
and the most profound, emotionally resonant example of this is their restoration project, which they call Project Roop.
Project Roop. I call this emotional alchemy. It is my favorite part of their model.
It's beautiful. Project Roop allows clients to bring in their own heritage textiles. Think of an emotional family heirloom sari or a dupatta that's maybe torn or too fragile to wear.
And instead of it just sitting in a trunk, they rehabilitate it.
Yes, they upcycle, restore, and transform it into new wearable pieces. It might become a structured jacket, a lehenga, or an evening gown.
Turning memories into wearable art. It's incredible. But let's address the elephant in the room, the economics of this. Customization at this level must take an immense amount of time.
It does. Depending on the complexity, it takes 3 to 9 weeks to complete a customized piece. A JOD lehenga requires a minimum of 300 hours of labor from start to finish.
Wait, 300 hours
Minimum, yes.
for one single garment? That is wild. And because of that, I see here that prices start from $6,000.
That's right, starting from 6,000.
So some people might look at that and say, how is this accessible? With 300 hours of labor per piece, how does the brand balance affordability with the ethics of fair wages?
Well, this is the reality of true sustainability. The price reflects the intense, time-consuming labor and the brand's strict commitment to fair labor practices.
Right, you can't have 300 hours of artisanal work and pay people fairly if you slap a cheap price tag on it.
Exactly. This isn't fast fashion. You are paying for the creation of a valuable heirloom, something so rich in craftsmanship that it will never return to the waste economy.
Which perfectly transitions into the massive scale of impact this project has actually achieved. Because when you hear bespoke 300-hour garments, you naturally assume it's a tiny operation.
But the metrics of their success are actually staggering.
Yeah, share those numbers with us because they blew my mind.
Over the years, they have upcycled almost 6,000 kilograms of scrap textile. They've preserved 3,000 kilograms of delicate heirloom fabrics.
Wow.
They have transformed over 900 individual garments through Project Roop. And through all this, they have supported 300 families.
That is real, massive, tangible impact. We really have to highlight the visionary behind this, designer Priyanka Raajiv.
Absolutely. She is an alumnus of Lady Irwin College, and she has proven this technique has global appeal.
I mean, her designs have literally been worn by Angelina Jolie.
Yes, and showcased at New York Fashion Week. Her label also supports the NGO MAR, which works for destitute women and children, and she associates with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation.
Which is a massive global authority on the circular economy. And JOD isn't just for traditional Indian apparel either, right?
Not at all. The technique is already being applied to jewelry, cushions, and furniture.
And they are expanding heavily into Western fashion, too. I've seen jackets, stoles, pants, overcoats, skirts, and shirts, all using this exact zero-waste JOD technique.
It just shows how versatile the core architecture of this stitch really is.
It really does. So when you synthesize everything we've unpacked today, it becomes abundantly clear that JOD isn't just about mending clothes.
No, it is the ultimate bridge between fashion, environmental responsibility, and mindfulness. It proves that traditional crafts can produce inspirational designs that defy the industry's culture of excess.
It is truly a remarkable case study. And we want to remind you that you can visit omebi.com, again, pronounced omemi.com, to read this whole inspiring story at your absolute leisure.
There is so much more detail in the full story.
There is. And this is my final reminder to you all. Please join the Debbie the Curious WhatsApp community. You can do it right now by scanning the QR code on the poster of this podcast. It will keep you informed about new podcasts, blogs, tools, trainings, and live workshops.
It's the best way to stay connected with this material.
Absolutely. We also highly motivate you, our audience, to follow our YouTube and Spotify channels to hear more stories just like this one.
And please, jump into the comment box.
Yes. Post in the comment box about the topics you would love to hear us cover in the future. We read all of them.
We really do. It helps us shape the show.
Well, as we bring Season 4 to a close, we want to say a proper goodbye to all of you who have learned alongside us. We will come back with more such content, so follow our podcast and stay tuned.
And as we sign off, I just want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over. If our clothes truly carry the memories of their makers, and a 300-hour upcycled garment carries generations of history in its very threads, what story is the outfit you are wearing right now going to tell the future? Are we dressing for tomorrow's memories or just tomorrow's landfills?